Listen up, Sarah. You better sit down, girlfriend.
Oh, what's up, babe?
Oh, listen, God told me you're going to have a baby.
The Bible says that Sarah laughed. You know what else she did? She had a baby. You know why? Because God ain't playing. You see, we love our little bumper sticker that says, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. The second part doesn't matter. God said it, that settled it. And Sarah was going to have a baby. Whether she wanted to or not, she was going to have a baby. Now, a little bit later, they have a baby. What do they name him? Isaac. What's his name mean? Laughter. That's what his name means. Now, we don't know how old Isaac was, but let's just say for the sake of discussion, let's say he's 8 or 9. And at some point, that same voice shows up. Abraham, yes, sir. Listen up. I got a question to ask you. All right, what's the question? Who do you love more? Me or your boy? Excuse me? Seriously, who do you love more? Me or Isaac? Well, of course you. You sure? Absolutely. Prove it. All right, what do you want me to do? I want you to take your boy to the top of the mountain, and I want you to sacrifice him to prove that you love me more than him. Excuse me? I ain't playing. The Bible says in Genesis 22, the next day. It doesn't say he went to Sarah to get her permission. It doesn't even say he discussed it with her. Because if you remember our story about women in the Hebrew world, it didn't matter what she thought. So Abraham packs up his son, and the Bible says some servants, and they head off on a several-day journey. This wasn't like he was headed down the street. This was several days. And they get to the mountain, and here's this dad with this little boy. Hey, Daddy, listen, remember that time we came up here, I was really little, and we had those little doves that we sacrificed to God, and I don't see anything, and I was wondering what we're sacrificing to God. Dude, I don't know. Just hang with me, come on. Daddy, remember that time a couple summers ago I came up here and we had that little sheep thing and we sacrificed it to God, and I'm looking around, we ain't got no doves and we ain't got no sheep, and what are we going to sacrifice to God? I don't know. God's got a plan. Come on. Daddy, remember last year we came up here for that one feast, and it was the first time I got to stay all night with my family, and everything was really cool. And we had those things, I forget what it was, we had the doves and whatever. Dad, I'm confused, but Dad, we ain't got nothing to sacrifice to God. Yeah, I know. Well, what are we going to do? I don't know. God's got a plan. Okay. Help me, son. Help me build the altar. The Bible describes that all the way up the mountain, and on his back, Isaac is carrying the wood that is going to be used for the fire that he's going to be sacrificed on. That's a pretty good word picture of what happened a couple years later. And so here's this kid building the altar with his dad, gathering the stones. His dad is making the pile, and just in a couple of minutes, the dad knows that in a few minutes his kid is going to be the one on that altar. And he keeps doing it anyway. And at some point, we don't know what happened, but the Bible says that Abraham began to bind up his son. That means tie him up. Daddy, what are you doing? I can't really explain it to you. Daddy, that's really tight. Why are you doing this? Son, I can't explain it. Daddy, I can't move. Son, I know. And I'm really sorry. I don't have an answer for you. Daddy, what are you doing? He said, son, I can't explain this to you. I waited 100 years for you to come into my life. And I love you with all that I've got. But you know what? As much as I love you, I've got to love God more. And I'm really, really sorry. But I have to show God today. I have to show God that I love Him more than I love you. And unfortunately, that means that I have to sacrifice you. I have a son. I'm not killing my son. Sorry. I couldn't have that much faith. There's just no way. The Bible says that Abraham had his kid tied up on the altar with a dagger, a knife, raised to the sky, ready to stick it into the chest of his son. And what happened? Same voice. Abraham, what? Look over there. And what was there? The Bible says there was a ram stuck inside a bush so that the ram could be the sacrifice. And at this moment, you know what Isaac is thinking? Thank you. That's it. You know what Abraham's thinking? Yes! Why? Because God finally showed up. He finally showed up. Now I want you to listen to me. God is never early. but he always shows up at the last minute. If you go to see Batman and the show's over in 12 minutes, you don't like it. You like it to show up at just the last second. And God is exactly the same way. God is never late, but He's never early. He always shows up when you think it's too late. That's when the right time is for Him to come in and be the hero. And the part that's interesting to me, and you can read it in Genesis 22, Abraham had it figured out. In Hebrews it says, Abraham had reason that God was going to raise his son from the dead. Why? Because way back over there, God told Abraham, you're going to be the father of a great nation. How's that going to happen? Because it's going to happen through Isaac. Abraham had figured out, well then if Isaac's going to die, then God would be a liar. And Abraham reasoned, he figured out, if God told me the truth over there, and if God's telling me the truth about sacrificing my son, then I am going to go watch my son die, and I'm going to go watch God bring him back to life. Otherwise, God lied to me at block number 1. And Abraham had it figured out. In fact, you read it in 22, he says to the servants, we will be back. Not I will be. We will be back. What's the point of this? I'm trying to tell some of you that are guests with us here today, some of you that are here every week, way back when you were 10, 11, 12, and you felt like God whispered in your ear, I want you to be a teacher. He ain't playing. And what God told you when you were 15 is true. And it's true when you're 25 and 35 and 55 and 95. Why? Because God's not a liar. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is if you want to know where God is taking you, look where you've come from. Start with where you were. For example, some of you love kids, you love teaching, and you love sports. You could be a coach. Wow. Do you see how those go together? You love people, you love to be self-employed, and you want to control your own calendar. You might own a business someday. Do you see what I'm saying? God is not taking you into the abyss. He wants you to look back and to see how He's been faithful and how He's proven that His Word is true. And what a lot of us have done, and I did it too, God whispered in your ear when you were 15 and you blew it off till you were 25. You got your life together, and then you had family, you had kids, and now all of a sudden you've wandered back going, there's something missing in my life. And guess what it is? It's that little voice a long, long time ago that said, hey, I got a plan. Got a plan. But it takes faith to live out the plan. Just like Abraham. The third person that we read about is Moses. We all have seen Moses. The younger generation, you think Moses is the Prince of Egypt. Okay? Those of us that are adults, we think of Moses, we think of Charlton Heston and the Ten Commandments. Right? How many of you have seen that movie? Charlie looks good, doesn't he? He's like 6'3", 215, cut. He's good. I do not think that Moses looks like or sounds like Charlton Heston. Well, first of all, Moses wouldn't have a gun. Okay, anyway, all right? Here's what I think. My opinion is that Moses is a combination of Tim Conway and Urkel. No, I'm serious. I think we're all going to get to heaven, we're walking around, and we're going to bump into some dude about this big. Hey, what's up?
What are you talking about?
Oh, man, who are you?
My name's Moses.
Really?
I'll be choosed by stick.
That's what I think Moses looks like. Because if Charlton Heston walked into Pharaoh, he'd be afraid. But if Urkel walked in, he ain't laughing. He's just like, no, ain't no way. But this is what happened. Moses out minding his own business, taking care of the sheep. God shows up. Moses,
What?
listen up.
All right.
I got a plan.
What's the plan?
All right, I got a job for you.
I don't want a job.
No, I need you to go get the people out of jail.
What if I don't want to do it?
Don't make me mad.
Okay. How am I going to do that?
Just go talk to Pharaoh.
I can't do that.
Why?
I got a speech impediment.